Well, hello there, YouTube fans. This is Murray Carter from Carter Cutlery. Every year in October, we travel to Japan with a select few. We conduct a cutlery tour there, and we've already posted some footage on parts 1 and parts 2. Parts 1 was a revisit to Mr. Shiraki's bladesmithing shop, a man who I consider Japan's best bladesmith. And part 2 of the 2011 Carter Cutlery Japan tour was a trip to the Tsukiji fish market in Tokyo, Japan. In this part 3, we are going to take you to Kyoto, the cultural capital of Japan, where we had the exquisite opportunity of hiking through the mountains and visiting caves where they have been quarrying natural Japanese waterstones for swords and the finest blades in Japan for over 800 years. We got to visit these caves, find out just exactly how these veins of rocks are discovered and how they appear near the surface of the earth and how they're mined. And we got to quarry some of our own stones. And in part 2, we actually bring some of those stones back to my friend's lapidary shop, where we cut the stones and polish them into our very own sharpening stones for our own blades. It's a fascinating series. I'm sure you'll enjoy them. And as always, if you have any comments or questions, you can send them to Murray, M-U-R-R-A-Y, at cartercutlery.com. And if you have any questions about our annual Japan tour and how you might be able to participate, call us at 503-447-1029. Okay, sit back and enjoy the show. We started our trip in Kyoto in Mr. Nakao's little shop, getting an explanation about all different types of natural Japanese stones from different parts of Japan. Naturally, the very finest stones come from the Kyoto Honyama region. We had a little idyori where we could warm ourselves by the fire.
And this is really, you know, you best to be in your hand. I like this one as a color.
Yeah, that one's really fun. These stones were dug up last week by Mr. Nakaoka and a friend of his. De, この中からいいのを取れましたか？
これはもう割ってあるんですよ。割って、あとは引く品物にするだけです。なるほど。切るだけにしておいて。
Several of these are going to be taken down to the shop and cut into the fine finished stones.
この上がどっちかこういきます。はい。
Mr. Nakaoka decided to take us up the hill so we could see some other places where stones had been quarried. So Mr. Nakaoka is explaining that the vein of stones here that started back down there underneath his shop, it kind of goes at an angle like this. And just like the drawing the diagram he made for us yesterday, on the right hand side are the younger, the later formed stones, and over here on the left hand side are the older stones, and in between is about 7 different layers of varying quality, 7 different qualities of stone. And these stones here on the young side are too soft and not well enough developed. And on the far side, they're too hard and not usable for sharpening stones. And in between here, you've got the desirable stones to quarry out to sell as sharpening stones. A long time ago, when they would split the stones, you know, to check the quality, decide whether it was worth, you know, taking that stone to the next step or not in the process, they had, of course, steel tools. But the steel quality, you know, 100, 200 years ago wasn't the same as our steel quality today. So right up on the mountain where the workers were working, they had basically a bladesmith on call who would fire up his forge and reshape the tools as they bent or got duller as they chipped. Wow. The bladesmith would be right there on the work site, repairing and basically reheat treating and retempering their tools. Right here we have evidence of where the fire of one of those bladesmithing pits used to be. So right on site, they could repair and fix those. There you can see. So there would have been a fire pit right here. So Here is one of the dumping grounds for the whole bunch of smaller pieces of sharpening stones, just basically the remnants of pieces that they didn't want to use. This piece here, for example, has some of the finest qualities that you're looking for in a stone, but because of the size, it was deemed unusable and thrown in this pile here. A long time ago, the miners, they were digging this way until they got to the younger, softer stones and stopped there and didn't dig any further. And they progressed, digging this direction. まだ掘ればまだいい石がこっち側にあるでしょ、理屈的に。
下に掘ったらあるでしょ。立ってる。
Okay, so because the stones are kind of coming out of the earth this way, you know, if you found a good vein right about where we're standing now of natural stones that had just the right qualities of hardness and abrasiveness, then you would start digging down diagonally just to keep mining stones of that same quality. As many of you history buffs will know, Kyoto used to be the capital of Japan before, I think it was Tokugawa Ieyasu brought the capital to Tokyo. And just up over the top of this hill are a bunch of graves that are all belong to the imperial family from the era of when Kyoto was a capital. And so we've got nobility buried at the top of this hill. Now we've just walked about 20 meters from the last pit that had the young stones on the one side where they had stopped digging. And 20 meters from that spot right here, Mr. Nakaoka tells me, is kind of the last of where the hardest stones or the oldest stones are. So kind of within that 20-meter span are those 7 layers of varying degrees of high-quality stones, ending in this vein of stones that started way down there. Can you get some footage of down below there where his summer cabin is? You can see our rental car down there. So down at the bottom of that hill, up to here, is how that vein of rock continues up. And you know, that can only be discovered by experienced miners coming up and looking in these mountains and figuring out where the best stones are. Trial and error. Hi. You ready, John?
こうやって取るんですけど、手で砕いてね。でもここらほとんどもうなんていうんですかね、もうクォーツみたいな。
Quartzだね。You can see the exposure of quartz there, and so he didn't bother digging any further than this. Is the camera picking this all up? Great. What incredible footage. ね、ところでこの中に入ってる時に地震が来て崩れることあるでしょうね。
地震では崩れなしんやけど、まあこれが横向きの時に上から落ちてきます。横やったら危ない。
Can you imagine if an earthquake came right now and our entrance shut off? Look, this is incredible. These tools are here. Can you see these tools? It's just like someone was working here yesterday. How long? もうどれぐらいここに眠ってるんですか、これ道具。Look at this. Look at this tool.
50年ぐらい。
He's been sitting here for about 50 years. Look how the top of the tool is all mushroomed over from being repeatedly struck by a hammer. And this, of course, would have been a carbon steel. And these are just exactly the kind of tools that they would have needed the bladesmith or metalsmith on hand to reshape, to anneal, reshape, requench, and retemper. And they would cycle them through. In fact, I bet on in a busy season, that bladesmith would be just doing this all day long as the apprentices would be bringing them out old, dulled chisels, and an hour later they would come back into the cave fully refurbished. Right there, I'm holding a piece of antiquity. Now that is an integral piece of the puzzle to the legendary Japanese sharpness of the blades. You needed tools like this to get at the stones so that you could sharpen the knives. In a way, I think it's appropriate that we just leave those chisels right there as a testament to the history of this cave. Oh, there's a bat. Look, right above you there's a bat.
あ、 コウモリ。
ね、コウモリだね. That is cool. Should I wake him up and send him out?
No.
Let him flutter around
No.
your hair? So Mr. Nakaoka is telling me that, they've dug, roughly 40 feet into the side of this mountain. All along here we've transitioned from clay to hardened rock, but the hardened rock was in too small pieces. And finally, 40 feet down the tunnel, we get to quartz. And the truth of the matter is that this cave wasn't a very successful cave for mining stones out of. And so, thousands of man-hours of labor digging this cave resulted in nothing. And, thus is the history of looking for something precious. Is there's a lot of failure and trial and error involved before you strike it rich, so to speak. Cool. Awesome. That's what we came all this way from Oregon, all the way here to Kyoto to do, is to see the inside of these caves and get an inner look at the rock formations and get a crash lesson on what these stones are all about. Here's another cave here, the remnants of one, and Mr. Nakaoka informs me that some really good quality stones came out of this cave here. Okay, we're pretty much right on the ridge of this mountain here, and here in front of me is the remnants of an open quarry, and some really good quality stones were mined from here. まだ掘ればまだいいのできますか?
ここ住宅なんでやめた。
And actually, if a fella kept digging here, you get some really good stones. The problem is the encroachment of the human population. 20 meters from me here, on my left side, are houses, and they wouldn't appreciate that activity too much. Now, here's how you can imagine one of those open mining pits, how they start. Someone would have stumbled across a natural vein of rock. You can see starting here and all the way down to here. You can see as the natural rock formation has come through the crust of the earth here to the surface and exposed itself. And this is, one clue that those early miners would have had as to where to start digging. They'd start in here, maybe dig a couple feet down, and decide whether it was worth continuing or not. But that's it right there, Mother Nature shining right through to the surface. Okay, we've just come down this path, roughly 30 meters, and right about where the camera is right now is where that formation ends. So that's the width of the vein, and from here down there's nothing worthy to be quarried. So when they find those stones jutting out, they dig down a couple of feet, couple of meters, and if they found a really good vein, then they'd start digging sideways, going after whatever direction the best stones are in. Okay, here we've got all around here we've got these the remnants from the quarry right up there. These are pieces that weren't good to anybody. They've been thrown up and out of that pit, and they landed here. And every year in the winter, when it snows and freezes, these bigger pieces are going to break up into smaller pieces, and eventually, with time, they'll just become dirt. These trees are being carefully pruned, and they're here, and this one here especially has been marked as being a special candidate to be later harvested and to be used as a tokonoma tree. In the most important room in a traditional Japanese house, like we'll call it their living room, which usually has tatami mats and a special little alcove where they'll keep special trinkets and special scrolls. You'll notice that on one corner of the wall there's a tree that looks pretty much close to its natural state. They'll take the bark off and then leave it bumpy as it is naturally, and that's called the tokonoma hashira. And there are places in Japan where the procedure to finish these involves a woman taking gobs of sand in her bare hands and rubbing the tree all over to make it nice and smooth. And it has to be a woman's bare hands to do that. And that's the way they finish those tokonoma hashira. Is that what they're called? Tokonoma bashira?
Tokobashira.
They're called tokobashira. Right there.
Okay.
Well, you got some nice time with a woman's hands in store for you, buddy. Well, I trust that you enjoyed that footage. Wasn't that exciting? I bet you guys are all psyched up to go visit Japan now. We'd love to take you. You know, I speak fluent Japanese, and we have a really good time when we're over there. We stay for about 10 days. And be sure to watch part 5, which is a testimonial from the 2 guys who went on our tour last year. And you can also see a lot more footage if you do a search on Carter Cutlery Japan Tour 2010. Okay, until we meet again, take care and God bless you.